Hey everyone, thanks for joining. I know it's late in the day and I think everyone's probably very exhausted and ready for the cube crawl, so we'll try and keep this nice one quick and a little bit lighthearted and entertaining. We're not going to go through any crazy complicated theory stuff. It's a bit of an interactive and fun session for you all. So we're here today to talk about logs, metrics, and traces and a little bit of mayhem for you. So before we get started, I just want to go through who we are. I'm Tom Glenn. I'm a senior developer advocate for Grafana Labs. I've been a software engineer for the last sort of 18 years, and my background is predominantly in game development. So I worked on back-end game software, and I'm a hobbyist game developer as well. So, Jay?
My name is Clifford, and funny enough, I'm also a developer advocate at Grafana Labs. At Grafana Labs, I mainly deal with our log aggregation database, Loki, so write a lot of the documentation, do a lot of the education, and then in my past, I worked for Influx Data, did a lot with Telegraph and InfluxDB, and loved Grafana so much I ended up here.
Nice.
So, setting the scene, if you're going to buy into our theme today, you are all heroes on an adventure with us. We have a series of quests. We're going to talk a little bit about what observability is, where it can go wrong. We'll talk about our tools of the trade on our adventure, the metrics, logs, and traces, and then what you're all here for, the actual game itself, the interactive adventure, all text-based with a bit of an observability twist, Tom?
Yep.
Then we'll talk about takeaways, how you can get hold of the game yourself. So we will save the GitHub repo to the very end, and then any questions that you might have.
Wicked. So, can I get a quick show of hands? Not that I can see anyone because of the bright lights, but who here is comfortable with the term observability? Like, do you know what we mean when we're talking about that? Okay, cool. I think that's like half of the room, but I can't actually see. So basically, what we're talking about when we say observability is monitoring a system and understanding what it does based on its inputs and its outputs. So typically, a system may appear as a sort of a black box, and it can be sometimes difficult to know what's going on inside of that. And so when we're, let's say we're debugging an application, how many of you are familiar with doing this? Yeah, so we do print, why is this broken? And we put these all over our application. But there's a much better way to do this, and we do this with observability tools like logs, metrics, and traces. But the problem is, it can go wrong when we don't have these things in place. And so our talk today is mostly based about games. So I've picked out some examples here that some of you may or may not be familiar with. So we've picked out 3 games here. So Cyberpunk is one that I'm hugely into at the moment, but when it first came out, there were massive performance problems, mostly on the last-gen consoles. But when it first came out, people were basically saying it just didn't work, it was broken, it shouldn't have been released. Apex Legends, another one that went down for an entire weekend because it had matchmaking database issues. And so that meant that nobody could actually access the game for like a good 48 hours, which is obviously not what we want. Diablo 4, when that released, again, another one where it had massive issues for login and scaling with just the sheer amount of people that wanted to access the game. So what can we do, and why does this happen, Jay?
So there are plenty of reasons why this happens, but I've boiled it down to 3 main reasons. First is complexity. Let's think about the dawn of microservices. It's why we are all here at KubeCon. We're all here for Kubernetes, we're all here for microservices, and so forth. Microservices themselves, you could imagine we used to run monolithic applications. We now divide that application into a series of services, each with their own unique role, their cog in the machine. The problem with this is all of your problems now become opaque. When we scale these things up to, say, several hundred pods, when we start having all of these pods communicate with one another, where do the issues lie? Where in the chain are we failing? And next, sort of to lead on from this, is companies become a victim of their own success. Things that worked for maybe 10 customers, when you scale to 10,000 customers, you start running into bottlenecks, edge cases in performance, and good old hardware capacity issues. And lastly, we are all human. Bad code is shipped no matter what we do. Bad packages, there could be problems when we update the versions of our packages, and users do user things. If you are not all familiar with this meme right here, this video, please go find it. It's one of the funniest things I've seen in like 5 years of dev memes. Fantastic wee sketch there. But it just proves that what customers will do with your software is not what you expect all the time. Really, they should be putting the circle in the circle hole, but if it fits in the square hole, they're probably going to do it.
Yeah, makes sense. So we're going to talk about 3 different things today. So we're going to talk about metrics, logs, and traces. And so broadly speaking, metrics allow us to see what happened, logs allow us to see why it happened, and then traces allow us to see where it happened. So when it comes to metrics, these are usually quantifiable pieces of data. You saw in the last talk, if you were here, the different kinds of metrics that we can have. These effectively, most of the time, they are time series pieces of information. They have a unique name attached to them, and they tell us a very specific thing about a system. They usually have label key value pairs that can allow us to define different things. You saw in the last talk where there was a Q value there that sort of differentiated that metric between different ones. And we can have different metric types, so counters, gauges, histograms, and so on. Jay?
Logs I classify as the OG telemetry type. We talked a little bit earlier about print statements. You're kind of on your way to logging when you're using print statements or console logs. You're basically just outputting to the console. But logs can take a variety of forms since they've been around for so long. They could be stored in files within formats such as JSON, XML. They could be network-based, such as syslog, OpenTelemetry, which we'll get onto later. But they all kind of boil down to a log entry with a series of components. And I kind of see it like Lego. We have the timestamp, once again. We have severity. So you can imagine this like road signs, whether it be an emergency, a warning, info, or debug. And then we normally have a message, what happened at that point in time. But as we know, standardization is always an issue, and metadata can always be added to these logs. So just, especially when we look at structured logs, and when we talk about OpenTelemetry, you'll see a lot of different metadata applied to logs.
Cool. And then so we have traces. So these are sort of the final piece of the puzzle we're going to talk about today. These let us sort of see our request's journey through your systems effectively. Traces are made up of what we call spans, and each span is a particular action taken within that system. And they allow us to sort of pinpoint slowdowns within a system and sort of figure out where things are going wrong. And I've given a little example here of it kind of maps to the Diablo 4 example where someone's trying to join an online match. They open their game, they try and connect to the matchmaking API. The matchmaking API might respond really quickly, but then it tries to connect to the database, and then we have, you can see here, we've got 9.5 seconds of delay when we're trying to make that matchmaking query. And that's what traces can allow us to do. It can allow us to see where those bottlenecks are within our systems.
So how does this all come together, Tom?
Well, I think we're going to give you a bit of a demo. So like Jay mentioned earlier on, we're going to go on a bit of an adventure. And we're basically being tasked to defeat a wizard, I think, Jay?
I think that sounds like a good idea.
Awesome. All right, well, let's see if the demo functions here. All right, so we've basically just created a simple Python script here. I hope you can all see that.
I want to be called Frodo.
There. Say that again?
I want to be called Frodo.
Frodo? Okay, cool. That wasn't rehearsed. I was just going to put Tom, but there we go. Cool. All right, so hopefully you can see that, like I say. We are at the beginning of our adventure. There is a path leading north towards the town, and there's another path leading east. So I'm hoping some of you here are old enough to remember text-based adventure games, and this isn't going to look like something archaic, but hopefully this makes sense. So we've got a number of actions available to us here. We can go to the town, we can go to the forest, we can cheat. I think you put that in there.
How to cheat in the audience.
Or we can look around. We're not going to cheat. That was built in for developers, and you were meant to take that out before.
Sorry. I think we should probably go to the town, no? We're heroes. There's probably a quest in the town.
Okay, cool. So we're now in a bustling town. People are going about their business. We can see a blacksmith, Jay. We can see a mysterious man wandering around the streets. There's a quest giver, and then there's a chapel. What do we think?
Well, quest giver, right? We want a quest. I want a quest.
Sense. All right, so let's go to the quest giver. All right, we meet a quest giver. He's offered us a quest, Jay, to defeat an evil wizard. Should we accept the quest?
Accept the quest.
Awesome. All right, we've told him we're going to accept. He says we don't have a sword, though, Jay. He's looking at us with disappointment.
I think that's a little rude, Tom, don't you think?
It is a little bit rude, but I remember there was a blacksmith back in the town. So should we head over there and see if we can get him to give us a sword?
You should be able to forge a short sword or a flail, an axe.
A flail?
Spear?
I think we'll stick with the sword. Right, we're going to head to the blacksmith. We're at the blacksmith's forge. He's busy working, and we've got an option here to request a sword. So should we do that?
Request a sword?
Awesome. So he said he will forge a sword for us, Jay. It is going to take some time.
Okay.
And we do need to heat the forge. So should we? We've got an option to do that here. So should we
Heat
do
the
that?
forge? Is this going to take seconds or days?
So the thing is, I actually don't know how long it takes to make a sword. I don't know if anyone here knows how long it takes to heat a sword in a forge.
I'm going to give it 30 seconds.
Right.
We're just going to stand here awkwardly for 30 seconds.
Well, it says anyway. It says we fired up the forge, and it's begin heating up, and we've got to wait a while before we check on the sword. So you said 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'm already at 19, 20.
Right, okay, cool. All right, well, we'll just make some awkward banter on stage then, I guess.
Why do we have to kill a wizard? Why couldn't we have done a dragon? Like, why do it have to be a wizard?
I think a dragon, it's our first adventure, Jay. You just need to calm yourself down.
All right. Okay, we're at 35 seconds. So
35, right, okay, so
get the sword back.
check sword. You check if the sword is ready. The sword is completely melted.
Well, that's not very good.
Blacksmith looks at us with disappointment. Right, okay.
We'll request another one.
What, just ask him for another
Yeah,
sword?
we're going to start it again, and we'll just do it for 20 seconds instead.
Right, okay. It says I can't do that right now.
What does that mean?
I don't know, I'll try it again. Can't do that right now. I think we've broken it.
Have we got anything to check what's happening?
Well, actually, I think there was. Let me just. Yeah. All right. So we've burnt the forge down, Jay.
It's completely burnt down, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So maybe we should help the village rebuild the blacksmith, and then we'll take a much more measured approach, maybe with metrics.
Right. Okay. Yeah. All right. So I'll tell you what. I'll go back to town then. Funnily enough, there is an option to rebuild the blacksmith.
Saw this coming, didn't we?
Quite handy. So we'll do that. Hey, we've rebuilt the blacksmith. All good. Everything's
Fresh
fine.
new forge in.
We're back. Cool. So I'll tell you what.
Fantastic.
That forge heat gauge thing over there, that looks like it'd be really handy. So I'm gonna pay attention to that one, right? So
Okay.
I think let's go back to the blacksmith.
I'll let you keep a bird's eye on that.
Right. Okay. So this time I'm gonna request a sword. Okay. So request a sword. And now he said he's looking at us with disappointment. He says, "Fine, be more careful this time. If the forge gets too hot." I mean, he could have told us that the last time, though.
Heat the forge, Tom.
Right.
We've got it this time.
Right. So heat that forge, and hopefully we should see that heating up. So I'm gonna get ready.
I'm seeing
hoping
a sweet spot.
the green bit. All right. Let's see.
We hold with bated breath.
All right, I'm gonna go.
I say request the sword.
There we go. All right, so we've requested the sword. If the sword is ready, we take it from the blacksmith. Awesome. You see how the gauge is still going up?
I think we should probably put
stop
a bit
that
of water
before
on
we
that
burn it
forge. We
down,
want to burn
so-
down the blacksmith again.
Right, so we'll cool that down. All right, awesome. So we've poured water on the forge. The coals have sizzled. Everything's hunky-dory. Right, so we've got the sword. Should we go back to the quest giver and get that?
Well, I was offended by the quest giver. He said, we didn't have a sword. He looked a bit disappointed. I think we should probably power up our sword first just to show that quest giver what we're made of.
What do you mean power it up?
Well, I saw there was a mysterious man in town. I think we should go see him.
What, just a random man
Go
in
see the
town?
mysterious man. I promise you, in every adventure, a mysterious man just offers you anything you like.
Right. Okay. We meet a mysterious man. He offers to enhance our sword with magic.
See? I absolutely accept that offer.
Do you normally just go up to random strangers
Press 1,
in
Tom.
town and...
Press 1.
Right, okay. A great choice indeed. Your sword is now enchanted with great power. You feel funny, but powerful. Maybe I should accept a quest.
Right, well, I think we should go back to town, see that quest giver, and show him an amazing sword.
Okie dokie. So, quest giver, I'm not sure about the feeling funny part, though.
We'll give it a go.
Right, okay, let's accept the quest. You tell the quest giver you'd like to accept. The quest giver turns pale, they collapse dead. What do I do now?
Well, he must have been old. Let's try and request it again. There must be a new quest giver.
But it says
it could have been any reason that he died.
I know, but it says he's dead.
Yeah, we'll try again.
No,
Same again?
We're back at the blacksmith because it threw us out. All right, let's go back to town. I'm going to go back to the quest giver.
And then try the quest again?
He's dead, Jay.
That doesn't make any sense. So what can we do to work out why this is happening? Maybe we should look at logs, and we can look back through our application logs to see what might have happened.
Well, actually, we can look at the logs, but you can also see we've got an evil sword.
So metrics are already telling us we've enchanted our sword quite evilly already.
Right, I'm going to look through, Jay, there's a funny thing in the logs there. Can you see that bit? It says, the sword whispers, I killed them. You'll never destroy the wizard with me in your hands.
So it looks like a critical error to me. Can you expand that just to make sure?
Let's have a look. Yeah.
Oh, it's actually a fatal error.
Okay, cool.
No pun intended. So I still don't believe it was me, though. But if we scroll back through...
Well, I mean, you're the one that accepted it from a mysterious man in the village.
I can see probably an error there that was we accepted it from a mysterious man, which might have been my fault.
Right, okay. Well, so I'll tell you what then. What we're going to do now then, we've got an evil sword, but we need to kill this wizard, and also the quest giver's dead, so...
So maybe we could go to the chapel and get the curse taken off, get it blessed?
Right, okay, let's have a look. We enter the chapel, the priest greets us warmly. He can look at the sword. Should we get him to have a look at it?
Yep.
The priest looks at the sword with fear. My child, this sword is cursed. I will transfer the curse to me.
What a nice guy.
Actually, we've got a holy sword now.
I mean, I think we're ready to accept that quest now. Hopefully, the third generation of quest giver will survive.
Do you think it's his grandson?
Junior quest giver.
Right, okay. So let's go to the quest giver. We will accept his quest. He says, wow, you've got such a powerful sword. I'll give you a quest to defeat the evil wizard.
That's a much better reply.
Awesome. So let's go back to the town. And I think, funnily enough, the wizard's just hanging around in town.
Yep. Why would he hang around? Would you not have like a secret cave or anything? Or did we just get bored of coding?
I think we got bored of coding at this point. So he's yelled, are you here to kill me? I don't know. Are we here to kill him? What do we think? Do it?
Yeah, should we kill him? Strike him down.
All right, you strike the wizard down with your holy sword. The town cheers for you.
Huzzah!
Wicked. And our adventure has come to an end.
So
awesome.
What we did there is we covered a little bit of metrics and logs. But if you scroll back, Tom, to the demo dashboard.
Demo, yeah.
The one thing that we did not talk about was traces. So, Tom, if you jump back a dashboard and let's have a look at our leaderboard. What we can see right now is Frodo as a trace ID. And yes, we are running this as a monolithic application, but we can actually still see essentially how our adventure has gone through a trace. We have each of our actions as a span, and you can see how long it took us to complete that adventure. So that was a pretty good score, 8 minutes and 27 seconds.
27 seconds.
And you can see all of those actions that took place. We can see exactly what happened and when. And this is where correlations between telemetry signals comes into play. So when I made that big mistake with the sword, can we find that?
When we accepted his offer.
Why don't we check out the logs at that particular span?
Yeah, so you can see here that when we did that accept his offer step, we've got the log entry here that says, the evil wizard enchanted your sword with dark magic, and you feel a chill run down your spine. This is a warning.
And this is where observability really comes into play. When you start combining the what, where, and when, you can start correlating these telemetry signals together to get a true understanding of your system. The last one, just to quickly show for fun, we'll quickly brief it. If you jump back into the dashboard, we showed that you can correlate traces and logs, but you can actually also correlate metrics and traces. And these are called exemplars. So as you can see in our sword timeline, as we generated new swords, or how we got a holy sword or an evil sword, you can see we actually tie that to a trace ID for that game. And if you click on the query with tempo, we jump directly to that play that happened. So as more adventure games happen at the same time, when we click on these, we can see which adventurer, which game had gained that sword at that particular time.
Cool. All right, so how did we create this adventure then? So obviously this was a little bit of fun, but we did this to try and show you the core concepts of observability and actually how they can be used to help you debug your actual applications rather than just a text-based adventure. And so there's some key components of this. We're using OpenTelemetry throughout the entire stack. We basically have a small Python script, and that's instrumented with the OTel SDK. Then in between that, we have our OTel collector, and that's the thing that we're sending all of the metrics, logs, and traces to. The OTel collector is then firing all of that information into some back-end databases. We're using Prometheus for our metrics, we're using Loki for logs, and then Tempo for our traces. And then all of those databases are being used to fuel what you saw before, which was that Grafana dashboard that had the forge heat on there, and then all of the logs itself.
So to quickly break down what OpenTelemetry is, it's basically the child of OpenCensus and OpenTraces. And essentially, OpenCensus for metrics, OpenTraces for tracing, and now they decided to come together under one united front and make OpenTelemetry and extend to not just logs, but also continuous profiles as well. And it facilitates many roles as a standard does. It's a framework, it's an API, it's an SDK, like the SDK we use to orchestrate with Python. And they also have an implementation of a collector. So if you flip to the next slide, the OpenTelemetry collector is a sort of beacon example developed by the OpenTelemetry community, which shows how to receive, process, and distribute OpenTelemetry signals. It works within the OTLP format, which is basically the format or the data format that was designed by OpenTelemetry, but it does allow you to convert to third parties. The preference by OpenTelemetry is that all data sources have an OTLP endpoint, that they can accept OTLP data, but otherwise you can use something like the OpenTelemetry contributor collector, which can translate back into a specific database's input type.
Cool. And then so the next part of that architecture that you saw was our telemetry storage. And again, like I said, we're using Prometheus, Loki, and Tempo for this. Now, each of these is for a particular component of those telemetry data. So again, Prometheus is our metrics store, and that has its own query language called PromQL, which we're using within that Grafana dashboard to query for the particular piece of information, like whether or not it was the holy sword that we had, or it was the evil sword. And then Loki is our log store. This also has its own query language. It's very heavily based on Prometheus, and this is called LogQL. And we're using that to grab all of those logs in that panel on Grafana as well. And then Tempo, again, seeing a pattern here, this is our trace store. Also has, funnily enough, a query language called TraceQL, again, heavily inspired by PromQL. And all three of these have a native OTLP endpoint. Like Jay was mentioning, this allows us to take OpenTelemetry native data and pump those directly into our telemetry storages without the need to do any form of transformation on those metrics, logs, and traces. And then the final piece of the puzzle is Grafana. This is the open source observability platform that we have opted to use here. We also work for them, funnily enough. But this allows us to then visualize, monitor, and analyze all of that data and try and figure out and make sense of what it is we're looking at here, and allows us to figure out, hey, we have the evil sword and we've probably made a mistake here. Let's go back and figure out what the problem is. The other thing about Grafana is that we have what's called the big tent philosophy, and this is where we effectively want you to bring your data into Grafana from anywhere. We don't really care whether or not you have data in one particular database or another. We allow you to ingest that data no matter where it lives. And then the final piece of that is we also have alerting. So if I'd have had Slack set up on my phone, I could have had it notify me when the evil sword, for example, was funnily enough, got from Jay. I think it was your fault.
Or when you burnt down that blacksmith.
Did do that as well.
So, takeaways. Observability is no longer a luxury. As we know, as we demand more things, we demand more shows on Netflix, we demand faster deliveries from Amazon, we need to make sure that the systems that we're using to gain this content does not fall over. We ourselves, I think, have an SLO of like 99% on Grafana Cloud, and it's something that we actively need to maintain for our customers. The what, why, when, remember that is metrics, the why is the logs, and the when is the traces. Think about OpenTelemetry if you're just starting your journey into observability. It gives you the ability to remove vendor locking so you can choose the observability platform that works for you. And I think we've tried to illustrate today, learning observability does not need to be a chore. You can have fun with it. Make a game like we have. Teach through the art of story. And so, you can play this game yourself. We have all of the code up in a repo that you see here. If you don't want to do the QR code, it's basically just on the Grafana repo under Adventure. There's 2 versions of this demo up there. All you need is to basically have a Python environment, and the rest is Docker Compose. If you don't want to do that, we also have a killer coder instance. You basically just click that, and there's a sandbox, and it comes up as an online VM, and you can play the game like we did.
Awesome. And then so the last piece of this is that we know that some of this can be quite difficult, and if you have complex systems, it can be really challenging to figure out what it is you're trying to do, how to instrument it, make sense of all of this data. So we would heavily encourage you to come and join the Grafana community. We have a forum there where you can come and ask questions. There's other like-minded individuals potentially working on some very similar projects to yourselves that may be able to help you out with things. And also just come out and help if you've got information to share and things that you've figured out. Come and share it there. Be part of the community. You can use that QR code to join our forum there. And yeah, that's us for the day. So thank you very much for listening. If you've got any questions now, we're happy to take them. Otherwise, we will be around for the next few days. Come and find us. We're also at the Grafana booth. And
yeah, drop by for a beer.
I don't know.
Tell us about an adventure. I don't know, is it? I don't know, it's a cube crawl, right?
I don't know. I don't know how it works.
Maybe we'll watch you have a beer.
Oh, fair enough. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.